Hello and welcome to this week's video, which is going to be all about portraiture. I'm going to be looking at how to use a flat brush technique and also how to colour mix with dark skin tones. So to begin, my palette is black, titanium white, this is cadmium yellow deep, this is a crimson, primary blue, yellow ochre and viridian green. No, actually this is phthalo green. And the reason I've chosen these colours is because they just came in a set. They're Sennelier and they're not the colours I normally use, but I thought it might be interesting to see what happens with them. So for dark skin tones, you really want a dark blue, an ultramarine, a crimson red. And usually I find that within the crimson red and the dark green and a yellow, I can mix all different levels of brown. Some artists will use burnt sienna or raw sienna, all the browns like umbers, but I prefer to mix my own browns. So to begin with, I'm going to do a bit of speed painting as I draw it out. So I'm going to mix all the colours that I can see right at the beginning. I'm looking and I'm going to start with the dark colours first. I can see a blue brown going all over the forehead. There's also more of a warmer brown going in there, reddish brown. There's a definite reddish colour around the brows. Dark in the eyes. There's a yellow ochreish colour of yellow going down the side of the face. The more you look in skin, the more you can see. Skin is usually reflective of the environment around it, and there's a kind of a hint of reflection of this green that's in the background on the nose, so I might put that in. So to begin with my very dark colour, I'm going to mix blue with the black. And I need to lighten it with a bit of white. Now I need to make that a bit more of a brown, so I'm going to put in yellow and a bit of the red. And actually that's quite cool, but I'm happy with that. So a little bit more into there. It's gone green, a bit more red. That'll do. I think a slight more, I'll drag some of that blue into it. A bit more white and a bit more red. So that's my first colour. Then I'm going to mix the next colour up the scale, which is a dark brown. So I'm going to mix a yellow, a red and a bit of a dark green, a bit more red, and yeah, I think that's okay. A bit more red, a bit more green, and that's quite dark, so I will scoop that up, and I've mixed my next colour down. So then I'm going to start to mix a reddish brown to go between his eyes and on his chin, around the bottom of his face. So I'm mixing a lot here because I don't want it to all dry. So to darken that, I'm going to add a bit of the green. Let's have a look at that. That's actually quite a nice brown, so I'll keep that. Quite a lot of colours in there. I'll mix it a little bit more. And then onto the next lighter colour. There's still a reddish brown that I can see. So going up here, put the yellow in. And take it down with a bit of green. I think a bit more red. That's a good colour. So the next colour, I'm going to start introducing a bit of yellow. There is quite a warm yellow brown in there, so I'm going to mix that up. I've got some of the darker brown still on my palette knife, so I'll just combine that with the yellow. And it needs to be a slightly more orange. It's actually turned into a bit of a yellow ochre, and I haven't used yellow ochre. So compare. That's very close actually. So I'll keep that up there. And looking at it, I think that's probably just need a bit of a green colour for around the area under his eyes and on his nose. So I'll take green up out of yellow. Just get some yellow. So here's the yellow. At this point actually I could use a little bit of yellow ochre. Let's have a look. It's reasonable. A bit more red in there. I think I've gone bust with the red. Does make a beautiful colour there. Actually, that is a bit of a hint. That will probably do. It is a bit of an olive green that I can see. And then I think that will do for my colours, and what I'll do is I'll just mix as I go if I see any other colours that I need. So ready to go. So the brush I'm using today is a Pro Art flat. And I'm not going to be looking at details as in blending and refining. I'm going to be blocking in areas using my flat and creating marks in this way and moving my brush around to get this kind of angular mark making. So we're off. On the head I'm going to start dark, and I'm just putting in the dark area. It goes up into the head. There's actually a hint of purple in there, so I'm going to put a bit more red in. Goes down to the eye, and also over this side it's quite dark. But over in the middle you have a lighter area. So I'm just mixing a bit of white in there. A bit more red. To make it a little bit purple, and this area is quite round actually. Then you go down into a bit of a darker brown. I'm going into my brown here. In this area here, like that, and going down here it's very light, so I'm looking for any other areas that are dark. This side of the nose is very dark, but it's more of a dark brown, so I'm taking a little bit of the brown I mixed, and I think I'll add a little bit of red and a bit of green, and that will make it much darker brown. So going into this side, I think my nose I've made a little bit short, so I can take the eye up a bit. So I'm just pulling the paint across and stopping where I see the cheek. I'm not worried about the outside edge because I will paint down there with a pale colour later on. So down under the nose it's dark, and also in the philtrum. And he's got a little moustache going on there. Also under this bottom lip is pretty dark. and into the corner of the mouth. So I'm using my brush in all different angles to go round shapes, and also under the neck is very dark, so I'm going to go in with my darker blue black there. I'm putting the paint on reasonably thick. I think I'll pull that down here. The reason being is because you get the colour. It goes a lot stronger, a lot quicker than working with weak acrylic. And because I've got a lot mixed, then I can dip in and all around all the different colours. So going under the eye, I'm debating moving my eye up. I think I will just a little bit. So this is the shadow under the eye. That eye I've already moved up, and there's a dark area in here. And I think it goes dark under the nose, but it's not as dark, so I'm mixing a bit of my pale, I'm mixing a bit of my red brown in with this dark brown that I had, and we'll see what that looks like. So I'm using the corner of my brush just to put a shadow shape under there, and also he has a shadow in there. Down the edge of his nose there is also a dark line. I think possibly the brow comes in a little bit more. Anyway, we'll put that line that goes along the edge, and then it curves over this way. So I'm doing small marks with my brush, pulling it across to get lines. That eye goes in a little bit more inside with a bit of dark, and there's a reddish dark shadow over the side of it, and there's a hint of red in there as well. So going on to my lighter colours, I'm going to put in the bridge of his nose, and I've got my red brown, putting it in, and the shadow stops over his nose like that. I might put a bit more red in there actually. Goes up like that. I think I've got his forehead a little bit dark, so I can paint over that. Over the eyebrow there is a darker area, so I'll just put that in. If I'm raising his eye, I have to raise his eyebrow a little bit, so it's only a line. So rather than draw a line like this sideways, I'm just pulling down my brush that way. I'm going to avoid doing this. I'm going to, for any lines, I'm going to be going along like that, so you get little angular marks. So looking down here, there is a shadow in the corner of his mouth down here, and the shadow under his mouth is quite a reddish brown, so I'm going to put that in there. And going into the chin, it's all pretty much this colour with a little bit of highlight, so I'll put this colour in and then put the highlight on afterwards. Now I'm going to get this shadow, which is a really beautiful shadow under the cheek, on the jaw, because this describes the shape of his face. So that's a bit of a long, I'm using small brush marks. I don't want to have big long brush marks. And it goes into his cheek, which is a little bit paler and a little bit red. That's not pale enough and not red enough. So I'm just taking a little bit of this colour and mixing it in with the red. And we have a better colour there. Actually, that's a nice colour. So I'm going to take that down into the chin with a little bit of red just here. Going around that area there. So looking at the nose, there is a little bit of this colour under the nose, and I'm going to see if there's any other colours the same bit under the eye, so that whatever I've got on my brush I can use. So down the side of the nose, slightly more red. He's got a bit of red that goes up the edge of the nose there. What defines the nose here is the light that hits it on the other side. So I don't have the light just on the edge of the nose, but that will come. So within the nose, seeing as I'm in the area, I'm going to put in this green tone. and also down the edge of here there's a green tone as well. Goes to about there. So in this area here it's a lot lighter, so I'm just looking to see what else I've got in the way of this dark reddish colour. Under the eyes is a little bit lighter. Oops, I was going a bit low there. Up to the eyebrows, I need a little bit more paint on my brush. Going there, and I can see this green colour that I mixed within this area, so I'm just going to put that in, and I'll go over that with a little bit of my warm colour. And on the other side I can just see a little line of the pale green, so that eye is going to move up, so looking at the socket of the eye, it's about there. Right, I've got some green in here, so I'll just put that in. This might not be light enough, in which case I'll go over it. I think this shape goes over a little bit more to reach his ear. So now I'm going to work in my lighter areas, and I'm using my yellow ochre-ish colour that I've made, and I'll use all the other colours to change it as I put it on. So let's see what it looks like. It looks darker on the actual page than it does on my palette, and usually that's because when you mix a colour on your palette, I'm against the wood here. I am against other colours, so I can see this yellow ochre colour against all the browns, but when you put it on here it's next to a very dark colour, so that will all these colours will change each other when you put a new colour on. So that's probably why that looks a bit darker, so I'm going to go a little bit lighter in there, just here, and also around the front of the ear it's light, and in this area. Going into the eye, do you know what, I might put my eye in because I can't see what I'm doing. His eyes are very pale, but I don't want them completely white. They're quite small. I'll do his eye over here first. So looking at the length of the nose, I'm going to put the eye about here, and I'm working a little bit with the corner of my brush, hoping that's the right height. If not, I'll have to go and correct it. And the other eye is just parallel. Done that a bit big, so I'll have to shrink it. So what I can do is I can shrink it with a little bit of eyelid. There, and I'll leave that to dry. Just wash my brush. And so moving on, I'm going to put in all this area here. So using my yellow ochre colour that I mixed, going down this area, and this goes up into the eye. However, there's a little bit of a purpley feel here. Put that in. I might have to paint over that. So going down into the cheek. It's a bit darker here with a reddish colour, so I'm going to use a little bit of my reddish brown. That's not quite red enough, so I'll mix a bit more and go in, blocking it in. It's a good idea to squint to see where your shadows are. So that goes up there. And it's got a bit darker bit here, but within that there's a sort of a greenish hint. So I'll put that in. And it does go quite green over here. Over there. And around the mouth here it's quite light, but it's not very green, it's more of a red colour. So I'll put that in. So with this technique I won't particularly get any softness in the skin, but hopefully it will have a bit of impact and life about it. I think I've shaved off his moustache, so I will probably have to put that in. I might have made his nose a bit narrow, so what I'm going to do is put some white in with my yellow ochre colour here and a little bit of this red colour, and that will go on the nose so I can see where I am with the nose. So the highlight goes way over here along the nose, drops down with a little bit of a yellowish green colour, so I'll just put some of that in, and then that light goes up the side of the nose to here, across here. We've got a little bit of light there, and I'll take it up to that dark line and across to the brow of the nose. Okay, I need to go a little bit dark in that corner there. And I think this area needs to be a bit lighter, so I'm going to put a bit of white and yellow into my green area and go over that with a lighter colour. So I make adjustments all the time. I'll take that into there. That's a little bit of a red light over here. Okay, so I think I need to do this line down the side of the nose. That's a lot paler. So I'll just take a bit of white on what's on my brush and go down and just touch my brush to the page and take that line down there. The nose comes right out over here. And I think I'm going to have to adjust my dark line a little bit, take it over. So bringing that over a little bit. And then my lighter area will have to come over a bit as well. And looking at this, there's a little bit of a lighter area there, but it's quite cool. So I'm going to dip into this colour here, maybe add a little bit of white and put that in just here. Oh, that's too dark. I'll just dip my brush into my white and put that in. Like that. And maybe have a little bit of light going in there. So going back to the forehead with what I have on my brush, that was way too light and that's the wrong colour. So I'll go back into my purplish colour and go over that. That's a bit better. And over here it's dark brown. So I'll just blot that in. Oh, that wasn't brown, that was blue. Let me go over that with a bit of brown. And I think I shrunk the light a little bit, so I'll go take that down a little bit more. It's a little bit lighter into the hair, so I'll just put some white into that colour bit and just go over that like that. So going back to my warm colours, I'm going to wash off my cool colour on my brush and look at this area here. So there's a mid brown there, and also I've got to think about the ears. So I'm going to go in with a dark brown on the ears, just to block in, that's the inside of the ear. I just want to make sure it's correct. If the eye is going to there, and looking at the distance here, I might have to bring it forward a little bit, and then within the outside of the ear there's a line of shadow. So I'm going to go in on the lighter bits of the ear now. So there's a line that goes down there, and then he's got a light line that runs down the back of the ear, and then he's got this bit inside the ear, I always think of this as a Y inside the ear, and that curls round to the earlobe. Earlobe's quite light in places. Just trying to get the shape. A little bit lighter going up here. And that ear joins the head with a lighter area. So that's a little bit of a pale pink yellow just here. So when I do a little bit of refining towards the end, I'll tweak the ear a little bit. There's a dark line under here, and there's a bit of a paler line that goes up there. So there's a little bit of a light inside the ear, and using the corner of my brush again, a little bit of a light just here and here. So going down here, it is quite yellow. I'm going to put some, I've got my yellow ochre colour here, I'm going to put some red into that. And a little bit of white to lighten it. Oh, that was a lot of white. Well, that will work, I'm sure. So let's have a look. I think it goes an awful lot lighter actually down that side, so I'm mixing a bit of white into my yellow ochre colour. And I'm going to just put this in there like that. Now the edge is very, very pale, so I'm just going to do that afterwards. Just going to go down his neck a bit with my red brown. I don't want this black line, so what I'll probably do is put a little bit of a colour there, and then let's think, take this colour up to that line, and then this pale colour comes down here, and then you've got a mid brown going on here, so I'm going to go into my mid brown and put that in. It's really nice to get a big thick dollop of paint on your brush. It just spreads so nicely. And I think a little bit of dark going over this because it's a little bit thin. I think my chin's disappearing a bit, so I'm going to go with a lighter red and just put a little bit of a line under there, a bit lighter than that, because you can distinctly see his chin against the neck. And he has a little highlight on his chin, which I'm going to put in just here. So going over to this area here, excuse me, he does have a bit of a darker shadow going on just here. So I'll put that in. That might be a bit too dark. We'll see. And then he has a lighter area coming down here. I think it's a bit more red than I've done it. No matter. I'll put a line of red going down there. And I think there's a little bit of a highlight. This should be a little bit lighter. Over here. Oh, that's no good. It's got white in it. Let's get over that. And then going under the chin a little bit. Under here there's a little area of light, and particularly on the top of the lip. So let's put this in. So I can shape the lips on the top line, and then I will shave off some of this colour I put in with the darker colour. There's a little bit of highlight going on just here on the top lip, And also he's got a bit of reflected pale from the bottom lip going on the top lip, which is a little bit lighter. That reflects from the lighter bottom lip. So I'm going to put the dark in on the lip. It's quite a cool brown. So I'll just pull that down and redraw this lip a little bit. Use the corner of my brush to get a good line. That should be a bit darker over on this side. And down the middle of the lip it's quite dark, so I'll put a dark brown. Oops, that's too big a dollop. I think I'll let that dry for a minute. So what I'm going to do is put the shadow. Now I'll put this bottom line in. That's quite dark. So I'm going to go sideways. And I'm just looking at the shape of this line. It goes across and then it drops down. And round, it's quite dark, and then up again. I'm going to go in a bit darker under here as well. Yep. So using this, I'm going to try, oh yeah, that's drying, to go over the top lip a little bit. And then at the bottom of the top lip, there's a little bit of, as I said, reflected light from the bottom lip. And then the bottom lip is pretty pale. So I'm just using what I've got on my palette. So I'm going into this paler colour here. Take a little bit of this reddish colour, put that into it. And then you've got this drops down like this. And then I'm just getting the correct shape at the top of the lip and drag my colour down to there. So it goes quite pale here with a few lines, and over in this corner there's quite a little highlight going on, so I'm just going to take a little bit of a white and put that in. That might be a bit too loud, maybe not. I'll just cover it up a little bit. So we have lines in the bottom lip, and I'm going to go a bit paler just here, maybe even more pale. Got quite a lot of paint on my brush to go over what's there before, because that's wet, and so to go over wet paint with wet paint you do need to have quite a lot on your brush. Not happy with the shape of that, so I'm going to change it slightly. I think it drops down a bit more here, going into the corner a bit. So do a quick comparison. I think the lip's a bit more pink than I've got it, so I'll just put a little bit of red into my pale colour that I was using, just to change the colour a little bit, and go back in on top. I think I'm going to have to leave that to dry. So what I'm going to do is reshape underneath here. And put a little bit of a paler brown in there. So going down here, it's a bit paler. And it's a little bit more pale inside there. It's a bit pink actually. And that goes down outside the mouth. I'm going to go lighter on the nose. I'm going to take white and put it into my yellow ochre colour, because that's quite a warm highlight on the nose. And that light goes over the end of the nose a little bit. And then I'm going to go in with my yellow ochre colour just underneath, like that. So I think my lights need to be a bit lighter. Anyway, going back to this area here, the eye goes quite red in the corner here. And then it's lighter here. So putting in this colour here. Oh yeah, that's better. And that light goes a little bit round towards his eyebrow. And this goes in a bit more into his eye, this colour here. And then you've got this paler area that goes near enough to his ear, so it's quite dark in front of his ear. Oops, sorry, camera wobble. And I'm going to go down this side here. That's better. It's a little bit paler. It's also paler colour in here. So you can see I'm getting a lot of angular small marks going on. There's a little bit of light that comes down into this area here. Wait, that's a little bit dirty, never mind. And take some light up there. So now looking at him, I think I'm going to work a little bit down here and around the ear a little bit more, lighten this, and then look at the eyes. So I usually save the eyes till last because they're my favourite bit. So I'm going to mix a paler colour yet here, it's too pale. Take some of my yellow ochre and a little hint of red. And that is a lot lighter, so we'll see how it looks. Funny, it looks very pale on my palette, but it doesn't look pale on the painting. So I'm going to add more white into there. Let's see now. Oh yeah, that's it. So we've got that light down there. Also in front of the ear. And over here. I'll take a bit more light into here. And then in front of the ear here, it's quite dark. So because I'm going dark, I'll just wash my brush. And I'm going to put in this line along here. That's a bit thin. I want some paler colour on top of that because I've gone too dark, I think, over here. There's a little bit blue within here. Not blue enough. And then this highlight here is going too low. Blue into there. That's very dark actually, I need to lighten that. And yeah, this needs a little bit of work, so whatever's on my paintbrush I'm going to take down there like that. So I need to think about this area here. There is a little bit of a highlight that goes from his nose to his top lip, which defines the shape of his philtrum. And then it goes darker inside the philtrum. So I'm working quite finely here. Take this across with the corner of my brush. Like like so. I think I've got that. And I think to bring his lip forward, there is a little bit of a highlight on that lip as well. So I'm just going to put that in. And what it is that highlight there is reflecting the highlight from the bottom lip. Got my highlight in the wrong place there. So I'll just go in with the darker brown and shave a bit off. So I don't think his nose is defined enough, although his nose on the photograph is a little bit blurred. So I'm going to take a line of shadow underneath it. But anyway, I'm going to start to work on the eyes. So I'm going to get the eye shape using my dark colour and put the eye lashes in and draw the shape of the eye. And likewise on the other side. He's got eyelashes that go out, but because I'm going to put background colour on, I'll leave that for now. Now his eyes, his irises just look black. There is a hint of brown in, so I'm going to put them in a dark brown. And the eyelid covers up the top half. And the bottom half touches the bottom of the eye. So I'm going to bring the bottom of the eye up a little bit. And let's try and make him look straight-eyed and not cross-eyed. So going into more details now. There is a little bit of highlight that goes under this eye and down the side of the nose there. That's way too light. It's quite subtle. A little bit of a light in there. I think I need to make the line of his nose there a little bit sharper actually, with a little bit more white on it. I've got a pale area there actually. I better fill that in. That goes up to the eyebrow. And above the eyebrow, I think it needs to be a bit paler or more pale, so that you can see the eyebrow when that's in. Let's have a look at this side. There is a little bit of light coming down to the eyebrow here. I think this is wrong, but I'll correct that when I put the background in. So one eyebrow goes up, and I'll put those in quite black actually, and the other brow is down here. That might be a bit high. I'll bring that highlight down a bit. So up here there's a highlight. Oops, I'm doing what I said I wouldn't do, which is that. So let's pull that line. And looking at the hair, you have to look at what's underneath it. So I'm looking at the patches of light underneath the hair, and then I'll stipple the hair on top, I think. So going over here, you've got a lighter area of brown just here, and going up into the hair, I think I see an area of paler brown going down here, and then behind the ear it's actually pretty light, so I'm going to go in with my purplish colour, put some white into that, take that up there behind the ear, and it's also very pale behind the ear. So as you can see, I move my brush sideways, downwards, angle it, pull it up to get lots of different brush strokes. Take this up a little bit more and go under there. So I'm just basically going to fill this in and then stipple over it. What I like about using flat brushes is the way it fills an area really quickly. So over here it's still very light. And then it goes a little bit darker under there. Not that much though. Centre over there is paler. Trying to get the head shape. So while that dries, I'm going to work on this area here with the highlights. So I'm going to go with a very pale colour. I'm putting some white into here. And I'm redrawing the edge of the face. I'm going to drip. That goes round here. And also you've got a highlight over here under the ear. No highlight on the ear. I'm going to redraw the earlobe though. It's a little bit wonky. And then I'll put my lighter earlobe colour over the top of that, like so. So looking around, I'm going to take, oh no, that was wrong. I'm going to take a little bit of a darker colour over there, a little bit of a purple. Going back to the eyes, I think there's a little bit more of highlight in there than I've got. So using the corner of my brush, it's very pale on this side. So I'll make that whiter. And this side, there's just a little bit here. I haven't given him any eyelids, so I better put those in. A little bit lighter than what's there. In fact, actually, the way when I look at it, this area here is lighter and the eyelids are darker. So I'm going to go into my very pale ochre colour and lighten this and see what happens. That's probably too light actually. That's a bit better. I still want it to be dark against this area. I think I can afford to go a little bit lighter within here. So I need to mix my paint a bit more. I'm getting streaks of white down there. That's it, and a little bit paler in here. I think I'd like to have a little bit more of a pale yellow ochre colour in there. I think I've lost a little bit of the warmth, so going over what I've done. That's actually too pale. So what I'm doing is I'm working in this area here. I need to dull it down a bit, but I want to have a bit of warm yellow ochre in. So let's see how this looks. Oh, that's a bit better actually. And taking it in there a bit, and also going up to this light line and getting rid of that dark. So squinting a bit, I need to darken this area here a bit more. And I'm going to work around the eyes a little bit. So he is quite dark under the eyes. Just try and get that shape a bit better. think I shrank the eye a bit too much there. I'll have to regrow it, chop a bit off there as well. So take my white in the corner of my brush, just put that back in a bit. And he has a nice highlight on his eye, which is always my favourite bit. However, I'm going to make the pupils a little bit darker in there. So I'm going to take my black and just put in a few shapes that I can see. Like that. And so going to the eyelid, I'm going to go in with my brown here and see if it's dark enough. I think that's reasonably dark. And on the other side, I'm going to darken that a little bit. So what should happen over here is the eyebrow should go over a little bit more, and the forehead should go over a bit, because I've changed the height of my eye. I'm just looking to see if the forehead should come forward a bit more, but I think I'm okay with it. There is a shadow under this cloth that he's wearing over his hair, so I'll put that on. And stepping back a little bit, I think his moustache needs a bit of a paler colour over it, so I'm just going to go over there a little bit paler, and that actually goes up a little bit higher than I've got it. Yeah, a bit more blue in there. And now I'm going to put the highlights in the eyes, because that hopefully is what will light them up. So a little bit of white on the corner of my brush, and the highlight is over here. So that's made his eyes look a bit wrong. Oh dear. Yes, that's the problem with using a bigger brush, but I'll just shave that off. There isn't much of a highlight in this eye anyway, because it's in shadow a little bit more. Right, I'm going to go back to that bottom lip, and I'm going to use my white over here with a bit of my ochre colour and a little bit of the warm brown that I had there, the red brown. A little bit more white, and we'll see how this looks on the lip. I think this is, oops, a better colour. And I think at the bottom of that lip, it's quite soft. But then I'm not trying to aim for soft lines anymore on this. There's a little bit of red in there that I haven't caught. So I'm going to just put a little bit of that in. I think I put more in than is actually there, but I like that, so I'm going to leave that in. Shade that a little bit. And highlight his chin a bit more than I've got. To bring it out a bit. I'm thinking I might have made his chin a little bit long, so I'm going to use my dark colour to shave off here a bit. So going on to his hair, I'm going to do a lot of stippling. So I'm going to take the dark colour and put a bit more red in it. And I'm going to use the corner of my brush to do a little bit of stippling. Goes over there. I think I've done it a bit low actually, it should be a bit higher. filling in areas that are darker. Trying to pay attention to his hairline. And I need to soften these a little bit, I think. I'm just going over all the patches and areas that I've covered with the hair. So he's got quite a few interesting little shapes going on around here. And it goes down in front of his ear. And I can go in with my paler colour on top of that if I wish, to make it look more three-dimensional and the paint a little bit thicker. I need to sort this area here out. I think I've gone way too low with the hair, so I'll just go over that a little bit. And for a little bit of harmony, I'm going to take a warm red and go up into this a little bit. Sorry, not a warm red, a warm brown, a reddish brown. Just go up into here. So a little bit of artistic license going on. And I think I need to highlight his nose a little bit more, just here. Maybe a little bit under the nose a bit. So for the background, what I'm going to do is use my green colour and mix a bit of a paler colour into it. And there, that's going to be the background. So at this point, I redraw the head. Oops, said I wasn't going to do that. I'm going to go in, pulling it sideways. That's very dark, so I'll go in a bit lighter. And it goes down there and pull it out over there. And then this drops into the eye, down the side of the eye, and then just draw the cheek. Now that cheek curves in a little bit more than I've got it into the mouth a bit more. Quite a lot actually. You don't see a lot of it on the other side of the mouth. And then the chin comes in a little bit more. Down there, I'm going to shave a bit off the bottom of the chin. And then you've got the shoulder. And going on the other side of him, it's lighter still. Don't need to really redraw any of that. bit of light highlighted on the back of the neck, and then if I was to do the shoulder, that would have all the necklaces on it. So going back to this side, as you can see, it's a little bit darker, so around the chin I'm going to go lighter, and that will send it forward. Still not happy with the chin, just do feel that it's a little bit too big. Shave a bit more off it. I still feel that the nose doesn't stand out very well, so maybe a bit more of a highlight along the edge of it. And then I will have to neaten that a bit with a dart a bit on the other side, like that. So going on to this side of the face again, go over and over until I'm happy with it. I'll just put a little bit of a greyish colour on his hat. I'm not going to paint the hat, but just to make it look a little bit finished. So there's more light actually on this edge of it. A few folds. And then I'll just put a bit of a darker colour in here. So to bring his face out, I'll go a bit lighter in here. Got a bit of the grey on my brush. And there's a bit of a hedge behind him, so I'll just put the suggestion of that in. Like that. That will do, I think, for the background. So at this point I'll sit back and I'll have a look and see if anything really needs changing or lightening, darkening. I'm going to just remove that dollop of paint that's dropping over the eye. That's it. I think possibly maybe a little bit more work on the chin around here. It's gone a little bit dark, so I'll take my reddish brown and go over this area here a little bit and just put a bit more solid paint under that mouth. Like so. fill this in a bit more. The shadow under the eye actually goes into the shadow on the face a little bit more than I've got it. And there's a little shadow here. And I think the side of the nose has a bit more shadow than I've given it. It's a little bit darker than than in the photo, but I don't mind that. And finally, I think there's a bit of a, ooh, way too dark. There's a bit of a purple on the nose, which I'd like to put in. Going into the green, and maybe a little bit in here for a little bit of harmony. And I think, apart from a bit of adjustment on the lip, I think that's just about done. I think I've dropped the middle of the lip way too much, so I'll take that up a bit with the black. And then I'm going to lighten under that with a bit of my reddish colour, my red brown. And then I'm going to go over the top a bit with a little bit of a highlight colour just in here to take it up a bit. So that's portrait painting with the flat brush technique and looking at colour mixing for dark skin tones. I hope that was useful to you, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Bye.